Hey, welcome to Classic Car Garage, the original Classic Car Resto TV show. You know, back in the 20s when a painter painted a car, often he mixed his own paint. He would take a little tree pitch, maybe some tar thin with benzene, throw in a pinch of lamp black, maybe another cupful of this or that. He'd mix it all up and he would apply that with a paintbrush. Well, those days are long past. Today's modern paint systems are truly much more complicated to mix up and a lot more complex to apply in order to get a show-winning paint job. Well, on today's show, we're going to take a little mystery out of that process for you. Tom and I are going to mix up some paint, some torch red that is, for our Project 56 Chevy Sedan delivery, and we're going to show you how to apply that. Well, Tom's back in the paint booth right now, getting set to mix up that torch red paint. What do you say we go see what he's up to? Hey Tom, how you doing?
Great, Jeff.
Good to see you again.
Good seeing you.
Well, we're here in Tom's paint mixing room where we're about to mix the paint that's going to go on our project car. Now, Tom, mixing paint today is really not what it used to be, right? It's
no, not at all.
Really a complicated actual system, right?
Yes, it is.
Tell us about all the cans that you've got over here. These are actually individual cans of toner, right?
That's right. This is called a mixing bench, and what it does is mix the paint. Stirs them up all automatically so the toners don't separate, and so it keeps them agitated all the time.
So these are all the different elements that go into most of the paints that you would need to mix.
These toners will make all paints.
All paints.
All colors of all cars.
Now our Project 56 is going to get a coat of torch red paint. It's the same paint that was on a modern Corvette. How do you go about finding out what elements over there go into torch red paint?
Well, this is called the microfiche from Spieshecker, and this is every manufacturer of every automobile.
I can see.
That's made now.
Citroen even. I mean, this is every car.
Every car, and there's two sides to this, so there's a whole bunch of these. And then we put them into the viewer, and as you can see, we've got torch red up on the screen here. These here, the MB numbers, represent the toner. All of these toners right here. We've got 3 different toners in here, and then we've got the different measurements. The P1, which would be 1 pint, 1 Q, 1 quart, 2 Q, 2 quarts, 1 G, 1 gallon. And then you go down and there's 3 different toners with 3 different measurements. Okay,
so we know that 422.7 grams goes into this paint insofar as toner number 544. How do you measure something out that accurately?
Well, this is called a gram scale, and this is a really, really accurate measuring device.
Okay, so now that you have basically mixed up all these 3 elements that goes into torch red, and again, you're going to mix it by putting it into a mixing cup, right?
That's right. We would take a mixing cup like this, and then we would pour the different toners into this, and now we've already mixed up the paint. We've got a gallon of color over here, and then we're going to reduce this out.
Okay, so you pour the different toners in here, stir it up, then you get ready for the reducer.
That's right.
And the reducer is mixed at what ratio?
2 to 1. 2 parts of paint to 1 part of reducer.
And basically that's just going to thin this out so it's going to flow through the gun better,
That's right.
Okay, so if you go ahead and mix the reducer in there, we'll get set to paint.
This is a mixing stick that Spieshecker supplies with the system on 4 to 1 on that side and 2 to 1 on this side. On this particular, on base coat that we're going to use here, this is a side that mixes up the base coat, and then the one right in between there is where we're going to take the reducer to. So if we took 2 parts of base coat up to the 2, and then we put in up to that 2, that would give us the exact 2 to 1 measurement. So you'd stick this into a square container, you'd make sure the sides are square on that.
Right.
And then we're going to pour off 2 parts of the actual color that is in here, and I'll do that right now. So we pour 2 parts of color. You can see that color, isn't it beautiful?
Oh, that's going to look great on the car. So we're watching it come up to that level on the stick.
That's right, and we can pull out the stick so you can see we've come up to the 2 with the color.
Right.
And now we're going to come up to this 2 with the reducer. So we take our reducer.
Now if you didn't use reducer in the paint, what would happen?
It's not going to come out of the gun.
It's going to be too thick, right?
Yep.
Now ultimately this is going to make a little more paint then, right?
Yes. Okay. Now you can pull the stick out of there, and you can see we've come up to the other 2, and that's basically reduced paint. So there's no need to do any more to that.
Okay, well, Tom, I'll tell you what, I'll let you mix that up, get it ready to pour into the gun. And when we come back here on Classic Car Garage, we're going to head next door to the paint booth and begin spraying color. Stay with us, there's more to come. Hey, welcome back to Classic Car Garage. Well, we're here in the paint booth at Tom's right now, getting set to spray the color on our Project Cars fender here, Tom. But before we do that, the fender's been prepped, primed, and blocked. It's ready for paint now. But before we get to the cleaning this up to paint it, let's talk about some of the tools that our friends at home are going to need. First of all, you're going to need a spray gun. Now, this one is from DeVilbiss, and this is a GTI high performance, right?
That's right.
High volume, low pressure.
That's right, HVLP.
Meaning that a high volume of air but creates low pressure from this end?
That's right.
So this is a very good gun. This is a top coat gun. There are different guns for different usages, I understand.
Yeah.
It's got a regulator on here too to control the pressure coming out of your compressed air system. This is going to operate at about what pressure?
We want this to run at about 50 pounds down here, which will generate about 10 pounds of air pressure at the cap.
And speaking of compressors, what size compressor do you need to run a gun like this?
Well, we have an Ingersoll Rand 25 horse. Quite a big compressor,
right.
But you want to make sure you have enough compressed air. This gun by itself uses a 5-horse air compressor. That means that if you only have a 5-horse air compressor, nobody in the shop can work.
Right.
So you want to make sure that all the guys are able to work while I'm in here painting, or the painter is in here doing whatever he needs to do. But this gun alone will use about a 5-horse, and then the helmet will use another 5-horse.
So for a home hobbyist who's going to paint their own car, paint a fender like this, 5 horse is plenty to run a gun like this. Now you talked about the helmet. That's a DeVilbiss fresh air system, which is really a step above wearing the old charcoal mask, isn't it?
Yeah,
what does this do?
This is a really great system. I've been painting for a really, really long time, and that's one of the problems, is just all the fumes that you constantly breathe. With this helmet, it surrounds your whole head with fresh air. So
right.
You breathe nothing but clean, fresh air.
It's sort of like the astronauts in their spacesuit.
Right.
This is your spacesuit for in the paint booth, right? Okay, we're all set to paint the fender here. As I said, it's almost ready to go, but before we do that, we probably want to clean it off a little bit, and for that we've got another Spies Hecker product here, which is Permahide Hydro, meaning water, or we just call this Pre-Cleano.
That's right. This is a great product, basically waterborne. Hydro represents the waterborne characteristics of this product. And you spray it on. I have a little dispenser here. We're going to spray it on the fender, and we just do a small spot because I've already done this fender. But if, we just goes on like water. I mean, it's basically transparent.
And that's just going to wipe off any sort of oils, fingerprints, anything that might have gotten on the car to contaminate that fender or any part of the car that you might want to paint. But again, that's not the final part. You've got a tack cloth that you want to go over the fender with as well. And that tack cloth is just going to basically wipe off any kind of fibers that would have been on that particular rag too.
Yep.
Well, fender looks pretty clean, Tom. I'll tell you what, I'm going to step back, let you turn on the air compressor. We'll talk about painting.
All right.
Well, Tom's looking pretty good here now. You've got 4 coats of color on this car, right? But we're not done yet. It's time to spray on the clear coat here.
That's right.
And we're going to be using, again, the Spies Hecker product.
That's right. This is their 2.1 clear coat and their hardener for that. 2.1 here is the VOC rating of this clear. This is a compliant clear here in California, and this is what we have to use, but this is a great product.
So by the time we put this on twice, this is going to build to a thickness of about 6 to 8 mils, right?
That's right.
So it's going to look fantastic. I'll tell you what, I'll step back and let you go to put in clear coat on that. We'll see how well you do.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Well, you can see we've brought our fender into our shop here. We're getting set to color sand and buff the finish. Now, Tom, really that's where the show-winning paint part of it comes in, right?
That's right, Jeff. You could never do well at a car show today without this color sanding and rubbing process.
So the first step is simply a a block like this. Now this is just a rubber block, right?
That's right. Yep. Just
Get
a
this,
nice rubber pad.
Get this at most auto parts stores. And you're going to wrap that up with 1,500 grit paper to begin with.
That's right. 1,500 will be our first grit of paper that we use. And we're going to wrap that, you just kind of tri-fold that around the pad. We've got a nice flat pad there. And we're going to wet the surface. You want to make sure you use, enough water. There's just a drop of soap in there to keep it nice and...
A little bit of detergent to keep things lubricated.
Yep. And 3M, just a regular car wash soap works real good for that. And you want to stay in a basically straight fashion. And the reason for that is when you start to buff, you want to be able to decipher between the buff scratch, which will be circular, and the color sanding scratch, which will be straight.
Right. So basically you just go over this completely and keep it nice and wet, little detergent, 1,500 grit, just go back and forth there.
That's right. And then you take the rubber pad and squeegee it out. And then if you want to try it, Jeff, we'll mix up some...
Okay, well, if you're not opposed to painting the fender again, I'll give it a shot here.
Right. So we've wrapped up a 2,000 now because we're going to go over the 1,500 grit with 2,000, and it's really easy.
Right.
Go ahead, let me water.
So go ahead and wet that up there for me a little bit. And again, 2,000 grit paper, I'm going to go the same direction, right?
That's right.
Just back and forth like this, just back and forth. And how do we know when we have gotten it sanded enough when it's time to move on to another part?
Well, you'll actually start to feel the paper get real slippery.
Because I can feel it rather slippery up here, but down here where we haven't done it yet, because we haven't really gone over it with a 1,500, this is not as slippery yet.
That's
so
right.
basically it's by feel.
Yep.
That's starting to feel pretty good there. Looks like the first thing we need is a good buffer. This one is from DeWalt. And this is just an electric variable speed buffer here. But I noticed something different on this buffer. You've got something called a BuffMate. What is this all about?
That's right. This is a new tool from ABC Products Promotion, and this actually dispenses the polish right out onto the, right out underneath the pad. You can see where it disperses it right underneath the pad, and it sucks it right into the pad, so you don't get any stuff flinging all over the place. This thing works great.
So it's a perfect application every time.
Right.
Basically fill this with your polish. You can then charge this up with air right here with a regular air hose, and in order to activate the polish, you simply just push it with your thumb like that straight up.
Yep.
Puts the polish right where you want it. That's great, Shorty. Take a look at that. That is beautiful. Absolutely fantastic. I cannot see an imperfection anywhere in this paint. So I'll tell you, Tom, I can certainly see why you took a trophy at Pebble Beach with this and this system. Thanks to Shorty for showing us how this works. When we come back here on Classic Car Garage, we've got your new product section. Stay tuned.
In this week's Viewer's Garage is this 66 Shelby GT350, owned by Bob Kiley of Kennesaw, Georgia. Hey Bob, thanks for the pictures. Now if you've got a classic you want to share with our viewers, send your pictures to Classic Car Garage, and you just might see your car like Bob's right here on our show.
Hey, welcome back to Classic Car Garage. Before we go today, we've got a couple of new products we want to show you. You know, Craftsman tools are a household name. They've been a household name in my household and homes all across America for as long as I can remember. And this is one of the great products they're offering here. This is their professional line of long pattern, fully polished wrenches. Now take a look at these. They come in sizes from 1/4 inch all the way to 15/16. Now the long pattern design provides an extended reach for you, gives you some additional leverage and torque. The fully polished part is very easy to clean, and as always, your Craftsman tools are guaranteed forever. Now I think you would expect to pay a lot of money for a set like this, but in reality, this entire 12-piece professional set retails for about $59.99, and again, it's available from Craftsman Tools. They make anything possible. How many times have you had some plastic repair job around your house and you just didn't have the right adhesive to repair it with? It might be something on your car or your boat, might be a ski or anything for that matter. Well, the folks up at GT Motorsports in Reno, Nevada have come up with the answer. It's called Plastex, the plastic repair kit, and it claims to repair the impossible. We've used this around the shop and it really does work. Repairs glues, fills gaps, it repairs just about anything. Comes with everything you need in one master kit here. Comes with the glue, you've got your Plastex powder here in white, also black and clear, and as I said, everything you need to do the job right. This master kit retails for about $79.99, and again from GT Motorsports in Reno, Nevada. Well, that's just about all the time we've got for you on today's Classic Car Garage. We hope you've enjoyed, again, our painting and buffing and color sanding of our Project 56 Chevy. It's starting to come together, isn't it? Now, next week, we're going to be tackling the engine on our project car. So until then, for Tom and Jim, I'm Jeff Shea. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week right here on Classic Car Garage.